Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on part 2 of our MERN application. So in this one we're going to be working mostly on the front end, and what we're going to be doing is building out our nav bar, our login, our register forms. So things such as that, we're going to be working with the auth context. So we're going to be grabbing our user information from the back end and using use auth to populate that throughout our content, our components, sorry. So that's where we are right now. So this video might be a little longer because we're initializing a lot of things. We're setting up a lot of things in the front end. So this video, well, this series actually might go to a 4-part series rather than a 3-part series, because this is going to be mostly just front end based. And then in our next one, we're going to be working on the models and sending things to the front end to use. So in terms of login, log out, the authorization, all those things, those are going to be implemented today. Now authentication is going to be implemented today. So authorization, we're going to touch on a bit of that, and then later on we're going to fully implement it. So stay tuned and let's get right into the video. Okay, so now we're back in our IDE and we've opened up app.js. So currently we have localhost 3000 running. As you can see, there's nothing in there. There's nothing within this app function. So what we want to first do is create a folder named components, and within this folder we want to create several components. So we want to go navbar.jsx, we want to go login.jsx, register.jsx. We also want to say saved.jsx, hero.jsx. Let's see, headline.jsx. What else? comics.jsx, characters.jsx. So let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that should work. And then here we want to create a new folder and call it pages. And within pages, we want to have hero page.js, and we're good. Cool. So let's just go over here. So we'll let's go RAFCE for everything. RAFCE. FCE. There we go. And I believe there's more. RAFCE.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay. RAFCE. Got it. So basically you get the idea. We're just exporting the function in this situation, so that way we can use it within app.js. RAFCE. And okay, so we have everything done. Now what we want to do is we want to come down here also, and we want to create, actually up here, we want to create a new folder file. So let's create a new folder, and we're just going to call it Auth-Context. Let's go Pascal. And then within this, we're going to create a folder called Auth-Context.js. Actually, you know what? Let's take this out and delete the folder, and let's just say Auth-Context.js. Yeah, that's better. So let's build out this auth context first. And what this is doing, this is where that information, so if you come over to server, and we did this in the last video, and you come over to controller, auth controller. So you remember this info, this user info, we're going to be receiving this user info so it can be used globally within our components. we're going to be using it. We're going to be grabbing the user information so it can be used within all our components, and we're creating that logic within auth context. That's what we're doing with auth context. So here we're going to say const auth, okay, auth, I don't know why I can't type today, context is equal to create context, and we're going to keep it at that. And now we're just going to export it as const auth, well, use auth. That's what the variable is going to be called. And use auth is going to be an arrow function that's going to return use context. And within use context, we're going to have auth context. So we're going to be using this. So now let's write the logic for it. So this is pretty much the hard part, and we're all done with that. So now we're writing a component for it. So we're going to say const auth provider is equal to, we're going to grab everything within it and call it children. So anything within that anything this auth provider encapsulates is going to be a child of auth provider. So it's going to have it's going to have the user information being sent through all its children. So now we want to say const user set user, because that's what we're going to be receiving. We're going to be receiving the user, and we're going to say use state is null.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, and now we're going to say export dot, is it export dot modules, or it's one or the other? Oh, export default. And then it's going to be use or auth provider. Give me 1 second, make sure that's done properly. Export default auth provider. Sorry. Like, what's going on? There we go. So we're gonna have export default auth provider. So that's gonna allow us use this auth provider within app.js and other components. Okay, now we can come over here, bring this down and say import React from React, and here we'll just do this, say use state. So now this use state is initialized, and then we can come down here and also import. We're going to be using use navigate, which is from React Router DOM. So we're going to say import use navigate from React Router DOM. Okay, let's see. Did we ever install that as a dependency? Yep, React Router DOM, we did. So from React Router DOM. So now we can come down here and say const navigate is equal to use navigate. Okay, there we go. Use navigate, and that's fine. Cool. So now within this function, we also want to be able to get the data. So const fetch data is equal to a synchronous function, and we're gonna say try catch here. So what's going on here? Const fetch data is equal to a sync. I spelled this wrong. There we go. Try const response is equal to await axios.get, and we're getting from actually, let's do this. Let's come over here, and in source folder we're going to create a new file, and we're just going to call it config.js, and here we're going to call it const backend URL, and this is going to be right now equal to https http localhost 5000. Okay, and we're going to export default backend URL. Cool. So let's close this out, and then .get, we're just going to call this backend. Backend URL, and we're going to import it. So import backend URL from config There we go. As you can see, it got exported. It got imported. So now we're going to have backend URL, and it's going to be /auth within here /auth / user info. Is that 2 words? Is that okay? Let me just make sure I'm in the right case in user info. There we go. And let's see, views, routes, user info, user, okay, capital I. So that's correct. User info. So we want to do that, and that's how we're going to get our user. So when we get that response, we want to set the user to response.data.username. Because as you can see in, let's close out of this, within our Auth-Context, no, that's in our auth controller, user info, we're sending the username as the message. So username is this. So here we're accessing that username.
Music licensing reimagined.
So that's pretty much what we're doing there. So when we do that, let's just walk through this. So initially, the user is set to null. There is no user, so there's nothing there. And then when we get that user, we replace null with whatever the user is, the username is. And then now we want to say set user here if there's an error to null. So we're back to not being in there, and then console.log the error. Cool. And now did we create, let's see, routes? Yep, we created the logout route also. So here we're also going to get the logout. So within the auth provider, we're going to come over here. We're going to create a logout. Let's sync. We're going to say try await axios.get, same thing, backend URL, there we go, /auth /logout. Awesome. But here we're gonna say wait, hold up, there we go, comma, with credentials. Am I doing something wrong here? It's the option supposed to pop out. Logout, and we're gonna say
licensing reimagined.
Oh, that's why. Okay, so let's have catch here. Awesome. So now we can say with credentials. We're gonna call it true. Yeah. Now we're gonna set the user to null. So we want the user to be null, and then we want to navigate. We'll come back to this, but we want to be able to navigate after we log out back to the home page. So whatever route the home page is, we come back and we plug that in there. And then we want to say catch. Let's just put error here. Whoops. Error. I don't know what shortcut I just hit, but error. And then we want to be able to console.log error. Yeah, there we go. So now what we want to do is we want to say return. So after all that, we want to be able to return auth context. Did we have it capitalized here? Yep. Auth context dot provider. Value is equal to, we have user, we have set user. So we're basically just passing in these variables so that it can be used with all its children, which is anything we basically want to be it to be used with. We want to pass in the logout and fetch data. Well, we want to be able to pass the logout. So let's just pass the logout first. So log out. Awesome. So we want to do that. And if you're following along, you should know we're missing something at this point. So first we want to do children, and voila. So this is all nice and dandy, but how is this data being fetched? So that's what we have to think about now. So what we want to do is, upon load, we want to be able to fetch this data. So how do we do that? We use use effect. So use effect, and we want to say arrow function, and we want to say fetch data, and we're just going to give it an empty dependency of an array. Cool. So now our fetch data is, let's just link this. Awesome. So now our fetch data is being called upon load. So that's how we set up this to get our information, and we're just going to be passing these values, the user, the set user, and the logout. We're just going to be passing these all through the all throughout our children here, and you're going to see how we set this up. Okay, so now that we're done with this, let's just scroll, make sure everything's in good standing. Okay, so make sure everything's in good standing. Okay, so this is an error. So this should be import Axios from Axios. Okay, cool. And then use navigate to 10. Okay, so since we're not actually using this right now, let's just recompile this. npm run start. Okay, we're all set. Yeah. So now we can close this out and go to app.js. And in app.js, we're going to be making use of the auth context. So in app.js, what we can do is we can import, just give it some space here. We can import React from React. Cool. And when we do that, we can now import auth provider from auth context. Okay, use navigate is not defined in auth context. Okay, so we got a bunch of errors. Auth provider is defined but not used. Okay, so that's not an error, it's just a warning. So the error comes from line 14 in auth context. Oh, cool. So we're not using that, so let's just take that off. Now, so we have this, and what we can do now is say, let's come over here, and what we're gonna do is use that auth provider and then close all this. So now what we can do is we can say navbar. Navbar is not defined. I don't know why it's doing that. So import navbar from components / navbar. Awesome. As you can see, it popped out there. So now we're going to add something called routes. Okay, let's just import that. I don't know why everything's not auto importing right now. Routes from React router DOM.
Artlist.io.
And this should be within, of course, routes from React router done. Cool. Use routes may only be used in the context of router component. Wait, hold up. Did we not initialize that? Okay, so here we got to put browser router.
Licensing reimagined.
So we got to enclose this with browser router, and then we should be fine. Yep, there we go. So make sure you go to index.js. So I did not do that when I installed the dependency, but usually I do. So once you install the dependency, just make app a child of browser router in there, unless it's not going to work, unless the browser router is not going to work. So here we're going to come in and we're going to put routes, and now we're going to say route, and here we're going to be making a paths. Okay, let's just do this. Route, there we go. And we're going to say path, and our path here is going to be this, and our element is going to be for our login.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, once again, it's not. Let's just do this, and the next one's going to be for our hero page. So /hero page, and this is going to be hero. This one is going to be for saved, and this is going to be saved. So now we can come in here and say import login. So if you just save this, it's gonna crash from components /login. And let's take this, and now we're gonna say hero from /hero, and here's gonna be saved, and this is gonna be saved. Awesome. So we're pretty much done. As you can see, our nav bar and our login shows because we're on this. So the nav bar is going to show on every page. That's what this is saying. And for the route with nothing after the backslash, which is going to be this, it's just this. It's going to be our login page. And since we have no actual representation on our page to show that it's a login page, it's just going to show the text login at this moment. So we're pretty much done for right now with this. So once we can just move on to, actually, you know what? Let's finish it up. So let's just say we're going to be getting the username, so the user info. So let's just say Axios dot defaults dot with credentials, and we're going to make this equal true. Okay, so this is saying we're going to be passing a lot of things within with our methods, whether it be cookies or whatever. So we want to default that with true. So we want to pass it with the credentials. That's what we're going to say. And now we can forget about that and say function. We can write a function here, and our function is going to be called private route. And then we're going to be taking on the element. Cool. And we're going to be saying const. We're going to grab the user, and we're going to make it equal to use auth. And once again, oh, there it is. It did work this time. So use auth, and there it is. Use auth. So we're going to be doing this, and I'm gonna explain to you in a second what's going on. So we're going to say return user if so if there's a user, go to the element page. So go to like login, hero, whatever. However, if there's no user, then we want to navigate the person using the system, the browser, back to the login page. Equals to. Okay, so it did not do that again. So let's just import use navigate. Actually, we could just do it here. Use navigate. There we go. So we can just say navigate to this. What's the problem now?
Music licensing reimagined.
Navigate is not defined. 16. So let's come here and say use navigate. navigate is equal to use navigate const. So we're gonna say navigate to blah 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 blah. So that's pretty much what's going on here. Actually, we don't even need to use navigate. We can just say navigate. That's fine. So we just say navigate and take this out, and we should be fine. Yeah. So to reiterate, so we're creating this function, this private route, right? And we're passing in this element, and we're saying when we get the user from use auth, should be this. So when we get the user via use auth, we want to make sure that if there's a user, then we can go to the element, which is any route here. We're able to bounce around any route as we please. If not, we're navigating that user back to the login page, so back to this path. So that's exactly what this is saying. So how do we implement that, right? Okay, so we only need this hero page and saved to be to go through to use this private route function, correct? Because for hero page and for saved, you need authentication and authorization. Those are the only two main pages that you need it for. So what we can do is say, let's do this again. So we're gonna say element is equal to, and we're gonna enclose all of this within that element, and we're gonna say private route. And let's just make sure we're doing this. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So we just come over here and do this private route. There we go. So, and then here we need one more. There we go. So all we're doing is saying, all right, well, there's an element. So we're going to enclose everything within this private route element. So we're just going to pop this in there also. And then we're going to open this up, private route. And over here, we're going to close it. That's all we're doing. So we're saying for these two routes, if there's no user present, send them back to this route. So send them back to login. If there's no user, send them back. So that's all use auth is basically doing. It's checking this, it's bringing this user in here to play, and it's bringing this user in here to play, and it's saying if there's a user, go to that element that it's telling you to go to. So be able to go back and forth or whatever, and then go to the element, meaning go to either hero element, which is the hero page, or saved element, which is the saved, or navigate to the login if there's no user present. The last thing we're going to do here is say route path, and we're going to introduce a wildcard. So this wildcard is going to say element. Just finish writing this out. So element is equal to I'm just gonna say login. Okay, so now what we're saying here is if a user uses a URL, a route that's not been previously declared, so there's nothing here saying, hey, go to slash not saved, for example. If a user uses that, it's just going to reroute them back to the login page. So this is going to act as like our base. So if a user puts in an unknown route or anything, we come right back to login. That's what this is saying. It's not doing anything special. It's just catching it's just saying for any wildcard, send them back to the login. We're not going to process it. We don't know what it is. We're just going to send them back to the login. That way you don't keep going into like an error page, or you're just not in a blank on a blank screen forever. It takes you right back to login. So that way, if you keep getting, it's a redirect. So basically just redirecting you back to the login page. So that's all we have to do for this portion. So we're all done with our app, pretty much. This is all it is. We're all done with our app.js. So this is all it is. So now we can close out of this and actually start building out our front end UI. So here we have navbar. So we don't want it to just say navbar. We actually want to build our navbar. So let's get right into it. Okay, so now that we're here at the navbar, we're just gonna delete that and say nav. That should be lowercase nav. And this is just semantics, so it's not really, you can keep it at div, but I just want to use navbar, and say class name, fixed is top 0, left is 0. So we're keeping it fixed so we can scroll through the page and still have it at the top. Right is also 0. Background, we're going to have it as black. Width is full. Height, we're going to keep it at around 8 view width, 8 view height. And there we go. So let's just flex it. So flex, text white, items, we want it centered, and we want Z to be 10. Cool. And now let's bring this nav down here, and now we can write everything within it. So class name, we're going to say width is full. Flex, we're also going to say items center, justify between, padding of 2. And within this, we're going to say list item, class name, flex, items center, space, horizontal, we're going to keep that at 4. And now within our li, we're going to have a link. I don't know why that's not working, so we have to import that ourselves also. Import link from React Router DOM. So here we're going to have link to, and here's going to be where, actually I lied. So let's just keep it this way for right now. So we have our basic navbar with no text in it at this moment just yet. So we're going to come back and we're going to fix that. So we're going to come here, right here, and we're going to say, first let's import our use auth. Okay.
Music licensing
From Auth-Context. There we go. And now we can use that and say const user logout is equal to use auth. So we're importing this user and logout from our auth context. That's all we're doing. And now in this portion, we can now say for li, if, well, let's do link to first. Link to is equal to. Now we can say if there's a user, then we want to link them to the hero page. To what's it called? / hero page. So we want to link them to this page, hero page. Actually, so we did make a mistake here. So here, hero page should not just be hero, it should be hero page. Yeah, hero page. There we go. Oh, now that one imports. So that's where we want to take them. We want to take them to the hero page. If there's a user, take me to the hero page. So our landing page, basically. But if there's not, take me to the login. That's all it's saying. So take me to a login, if there's no user. And after doing so, we're just going to close that out and say class name is equal to nav and link. So here we're going to say h2 class name is equal to p5 text of 3 vmin. About to hover, our text should be yellow. Okay, and it should be 300, and our font should be bold. And then once we're done with that, close that out, and it should say Marvel Heroes. Nope. Marvel Heroes. There we go. So if we hover over it, as you can see, we have this. So this is what we just built out. And now, after doing so, we can go on, well, we close the link here. Now we can go on and say another list item. And for this one, it's also going to have list item of flex, items center, and space X is 4. So basically we're just repeating the same thing multiple times. And here we're going to say if there's a user again, so we're going to give it a bunch of logic. So we're going to say span class name is equal to nav link. So we're just giving the links to the class name of nav link, and text is going to be 1.8 vmin. For our small size screens, the text is going to be 2.2 vmin. Okay, and it should say hi, comma, user. So this is where we get the hi user, or like whoever the user is, it's going to say hi user. So just put a space in between. Actually we don't need a space, just hi comma user, and then close it with the span. There we go. So now within that, we're now going to say link to equals homepage, and our class name is going to be nav link. Our text is going to be the same thing, 1.8 vmin. Small size text is going to be 2.2 vmin, and our hover text is going to be yellow again. And as you can see, there's a pattern here, and I just picked yellow 300 because that's the closest that I can think of to a Marvel pin, to a Marvel color. And okay, link, and then we're just going to do this again, and for this we're just going to have link to saved, and this is all for if there's a user. So right now we don't really have a user because we didn't log in, so this should say saved. So we're just keeping the same thing. So saved, and then we're gonna have a button here, and this button is gonna act as our logout, because when you're logged in, the only other option is to log out, and it's gonna say, log out is with a lowercase, log out. Cool. And class name, as you can see, there's no error being compiled. We're gonna have a, and if you guys are well versed on the CSS portion, you can just go ahead and skip this portion, but I'm just trying to go in order so people know what's going on. So here we're gonna have a background red, we're gonna have a hover for the background red 600, the text is gonna be white, padding Y is gonna be 2, padding X is gonna be 3, small, the padding for a small screen is going to be 4, and they're all rounded. Transition duration is going to be 300. Ease in and out. Text is going to be 2.4 vmin. Awesome. And the button is going to be called logout. Cool. And as you can see, there's nothing being shown because we're not logged in, so that's what we expect. So now after this, now we're going to say if there's no user, right? And then we're going to write the logic for that. We're going to say link to home screen. Well, not home screen. Link to the login, and we're going to have a button, and this button is going to have a class name of background green, 500, hover, same thing, background green, except this is going to be 600, green, 600, text is going to be white. So it's pretty much the same thing we did at the top, except it's is green. Pattern Y is 2, pattern X is 3. On the small screen, it's going to be pattern X, which is 4. Rounded. Transition is the same thing. Duration is going to be it's going to be 300. Ease in and out. Text is going to be 2.0 vmin, and it's going to be called login. As you can see, it's right there. So since we're not logged in, we're going to have this login function show here, and then we have this. So these are only two things that are going to be on our login screen, and this is pretty much the whole thing we need for navbar. So we're all done with navbar here. So we can go ahead and click out of that. So now what we want to do is focus our attention on the login, because now we have to log in for this to work. So currently we have that login phrase and we don't care about that. So before we do that, let's just write out the logic for this. So for this, the logic is going to say const set user, and we're going to be getting this from, once again, use auth. Okay, now it doesn't want to work. So let's just grab it from here because I don't want to type that out. Oh, so let's grab that, close that up. Yep. And now we're going to say const set user is equal to use auth. Bam. And here we're going to say const, but this isn't going to be, this is going to be a use state variable. So username, set username, and it's going to be use state. Awesome, it works now. And we're going to be grabbing a string. Okay, now we want to say use name. Say use name. Another one, this is going to be password and set password.
Music licensing.
This is going to be use state. And once again, we're going to be grabbing a string. And I will explain what's going on in a second. So now we want to create a handle submit, because this is going to be a form and it's going to be a sync. We have an event variable. So actually, let me just explain what's going on first. So here we're getting to set user, because remember we already set the user to be null. So here we're bringing in this set user variable because we're going to be able to attach another constant, another property to it. So that's what we're doing with this use auth, right? So because if we don't attach something else within set user, it's always going to be null, and it's never going to show who our user is. So now we're going to say const username and set username. So this is when we have the form and we type in our username and a password, and we're holding it within a state property, and we're sending it over, we're posting it to our backend server, which would then go into the database to make sure we're authenticated, or we're in the database, which would then go on to do the authorization and so on and so forth. So that's what we're doing here. So from this, we're going to be saying, because this is going to be a form, now we're going to be saying handle submit async, because we're going to be using Axios, async, yeah, just making sure I'm not spelling things wrong. And this is going to be event. And now we're going to say e.prevent default. and say try catch, and then const response is equal to await axios dot post, and we're going to be bringing in that backend again. So that backend URL. So we're going to say backend URL. Awesome. So backend URL slash auth slash login. Yeah, it was slash login, I believe. And we're going to be passing in the username and the password. Dope. So we're going to say if our response, when it comes back, is equal to 200, then
Music licensing
set the user to the username. So set this user to whatever the username is, and navigate to homepage. And then we're gonna say, if that doesn't work, else, it should be over here. There we go. Else, console.log login failed. And then we want to window.alert. So we want to alert the user by saying login failed. Please check credentials. Cool. So, and then for catch, we just want to console.log error. Awesome. So this is pretty much the whoa. That doesn't make sense. So this should be navigate, not what's it called. So we should have a const navigate is equal
Music
to
licensing reimagined.
navigate. So let's just import that. Import use navigate from React Router DOM. Expected an assignment, so whatever. So we'll fix that. Navigate. Let's see. There we go. So we'll fix it. Shift. Awesome. So this is the logic for it. Now we can go ahead and actually build out our form. Okay, so actually this should be response.status. There we go. So if the status of our response is 200, and then do this. If not, and then we can also give it a Windows alert, window.alert here, and say an error occurred during login. Yeah, we could just do that. That's fine. So it just acts as a placeholder. Okay. So we're also missing this. Cool. So now we can say class name, flex, justify, center, items, center. We need the whole screen, height screen, background, gray. Let's go 100. Okay, that's in effect. Now we have another div, class name. We're going to say background is white. We're going to have a pattern of 8, rounded, shadow, have a large shadow. Got it. Now within this div, we're gonna have a h2 class name text to Excel, font semi bold, margin bottom 4, and this is going to be our login. So if we look over here, as you can see it, let's see, what if we did this side by side? That should make things a little better, and then we can take this out.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, so that should work a little better. So now we can see it simultaneously. So login, and then down here we'll create the form, and this form is going to have the onSubmit. So onSubmit, there we go, and it's going to have handle submit. So as long as we spelled that right, everything should be fine. Div class name, we're gonna say margin bottom 4, close that out. Label HTML4, there we go. Username, then we're gonna say class name, block, text is gray, and we're gonna use 700. Cool. Font is bold, margin bottom is 2.
Music licensing reimagined.
And we're gonna call it username. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Now we're gonna have an input type, and this input type is gonna be text. Class name is equal to width, full, rounded, border, well, rounded large, border, pattern Y of 2, pattern X of 3, focus, outline, focus, wait, well, I'm going to say outline none, I'm going to say focus, border blue of 500. What's going on? Oh, we didn't close it. And then let's do this. Got it. So we're gonna say on change, and on change is gonna have an E. E.target.value. Got it. And then the value is going to be username. And we're going to say it's required. So that way it does a personal check to make sure you actually had something in there. If you don't have anything in there, then it's not going to let you submit the form. It's required that you have it for it to submit the form. So we have another div here, and we're just going to replicate basically what we're doing. We're going to say class name, margin bottom of 6. I'm going to say label, HTML4, password, class name, black, text, gray of 700. Font is going to be bold. So we're basically just doing the same thing for this. Margin bottom is 2. Then we're going to close out of it, and we're just going to call this password. Boom. And then right below it is going to be the input.
Music licensing reimagined.
And the type is going to be password. Last name is going to be with full, border, rounded, large, pattern Y is 2, pattern X is 3, focus is going to be outline none. So we're pretty much just replicating it from the what we have here. So where are we? So focus outline is none. Okay, so let's see, focus outline none, and now we have the focus border. Focus border. It's gonna be blue 500, and our placeholder is gonna be wait, did we have a placeholder here? No, we should. So placeholder here is gonna be username. Did we do something? So form, oh here, placeholder is gonna be password. So we didn't finish writing this out. So I have a placeholder here, and then our on change here is gonna be this similar to what we have up here. It's gonna be
music licensing reimagined.
Set password e.target.value. Value is going to equal password. And we're going to have this as required.
Artlist.io.
Got it. And there we go. So we have a mistake somewhere. This input should be inside this div. There we go. So as you can see, it populated properly. So after that, what we can do now is, let's see, we have our on change. Let's just make sure everything here is correct. Okay, so now after this div, we can have this button class, this button type, sorry, it's gonna say submit. There we go, submit. And this button is gonna have class name of background blue 500, hover background blue of 600, text white, font bold, padding Y of 2, padding X of 4. Cool. So as you can see, you see the outline here. Now we're gonna have rounded, focus,
music licensing
outline. So we're just basically redoing the same steps, and then focus, shadow, outline, blue, and then active, background, blue, 700, and we're gonna keep it like that. And then we're gonna say H1 sign in. Cool. And yeah, so now after this button, we're gonna have another button here, and this type is also gonna be submit. Class name is gonna be background of green 500, hover, it's gonna be background of green 600, text is going to be white, font is going to be bold, padding Y of 1, padding X of 2, rounded, medium, and focus, shadow, outline of green, active, focus, outline, focus, shadow, outline green, active background green, 700, margin left of 2,
Music licensing reimagined.
and we're gonna have it link to /register, and this is gonna be called register. Oh, okay. So it chose not to do it this time, so link, and this is going to be register.
Artlist.io.
Okay, so we're just going to leave it like this. Yeah, we just leave it like this. This is fine. So what I realized is in app.js, we don't have a register path. So let's just do that also. So the path here should be /register. Element should be register.
Music
Of course, it's not doing that. Register. Yeah, it's not doing that. That's fine. So now we just got to import it from component /register. Okay, so now this should work properly. Cool. So now what we have to do is go into register and do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to redo this. I'm just going to copy and paste what I have from before. But what I am going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to create the logic for it. And then you can just copy and paste your login, CSS and everything here. The only thing is you're going to change this to, you'll see after I'm done.
Music licensing reimagined.
So for right now, let's just write in the logic, and the logic here is going to be similar. So it's just going to be const username, set username, and we're going to begin this from use state, and it's going to be a string. So here const password, set password is going to be use state, and this is also going to be a string. Const navigate is equal to use navigate. There we go. And now what we're doing is we're going to say const handle submit is equal to async
Artlist.io.
arrow function e.prevent default set password, and we're going to set password to an empty string and set
Music
username
licensing reimagined.
to an empty string. So here we're going to say try and catch const response is equal to await axios.post. It's going to be a post method, and remember we're going to be using that same back end URL /auth
Artlist.io.
/register. And here also we're going to be passing in the username and the password. Cool. So here we're going to have that same logic and say if response
Music
dot
licensing
status is
reimagined.
equal to 200, then we're going to alert response dot data dot message, and that's because if you come over here to auth controller for register, if it's successful, the message says profile created. So we're just lifting this and showing it in our front end. Let's close out of that. Let's close out of this. So that's what we're saying, and then we're navigating to the login screen. And then here, if we have an error, we're just going to console log the error. Simple as that. So that's the logic we're going to need. You can just go ahead and take the login CSS and everything, this return property here. You just take the return and plug it in there, and then you can just make some minor changes, which I will show you. So actually, let's do it together. So I'll take this div to div,
and then from div to div here, and handle submit. As you can see, it's the same thing. Let's just go ahead and do this and that. Yep. So login. Yep. Username. And the only thing we're gonna be changing is in our submit for the I said submit in our button. So this first button is gonna be login. So button. So rather than it's saying sign in, we're gonna give it, first of all, we're gonna give it a margin here of 2, and then here it's gonna say link
Music licensing
to
reimagined.
login. There we go. So this is gonna say login. So if we click register here, we're over here. So this is gonna say login, and the other one is going to say register. Which one are we on? We're on register right now. So if we go over to register, so here, this should not say login, this should say register. As you can see, register username, password, and then you can log in or you can register. So if you go to register, actually, how did I, let me make sure I did the right thing here. So for my register over here, I said link to login. Let's see. So this should say login. And this should say register. Awesome. So this should just have register. And this should be login. Cool. Awesome. So now let's test everything out to see if it works. So if we register, we're in our let's open this up. And let's open this up a little more. Cool. So we're in our database right now, as you can see. Let's go ahead and try this out. So let's say test. Let's open this up. Let's go to network. Let's just go back to default. There we go. Test 2. Let's say test YouTube. And test register. As you can see, response says response.data.message. Okay, so that's wrong. So profile created should be what it says. So let's go back in here and response alert. Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's why. So it should not be in quotations. It should just be like that. So now if I go back here, that was test 1. What did we call this? We called this test YouTube is what we called it. So if we go back here and we refresh, there we go, test YouTube. So this works perfectly. So now let's see if this works. So if we log in with test YouTube and our thing was test, an error occurred during login. So let's see. Login successful. So we have a successful login. Let's see why it's saying there was an error during login. Set user is not a function. Handle submit. Login 22. So let's see number 22. Set up. We set user. No, I think it is. Okay, so 2 things I found wrong. So for here, all we have to, so make sure this is changed to the right navigation. And then for use auth, make sure it's that. So you make sure you add the parentheses there. So we're also getting the new date is not defined error here. It exports that authenticate. So when we go to authenticate here, let's see. Exports that authenticate. It's saying On line 70, new date is not defined. Okay, so let's fix that. And the way to fix that is by saying, just giving it space here. So it should be new date. There we go. So we should be good. So now make sure you fix this because if you have that error, it's not going to let you, it's not going to authenticate you. So make sure you fix that, and that should say new date, not one word. You probably already figured that out. I just missed it. And then here, make sure this use auth has this parentheses there, unless it's not going to work. So now if we go back and we say test YouTube and test, if we clear all this out and we log in, oh, sorry, and we sign in here and close this, as you can see, it says hi test YouTube, home, saved, log out. So we're all good here. The console, everything's fine. Just don't worry about that right now. And then let's see if we log out. So our problem now comes with the logout. There's a server error. So if we come over here, res.clear cookie is not a function. So let's go back over there. 98 Auth-Context. Wait, sorry. Auth controller 98 clear cookie is not a function. Got it. And that is because this is in Pascal case rather than what's it called? Rather than camel case. So let's try it again. There we go, log out, and that's all we have to do. So now if I refresh it, we're still logged out. If I do it again, test YouTube, test, sign in, we're back in, log out, we're out. So let's try it again. Test YouTube, test, sign in. It says who I am, hi test YouTube, home, saved, log out, and we're good. So that's the essential portion of what we have to do, and we are done with that part. So now we can get into our app and out of it. So in terms of the front end, that's the most basic part we just got completed. So now what do we want to do? So now what we have to do is create our landing page. Well, not our landing page, our hero page. This hero page here. Okay, so since we're done with a lot of the front end work for today, we're just gonna stop here because the video is already longer than I wanted it to be. And like I said in the beginning, I said it's gonna probably be a 4-part series rather than a 3-part series like I thought in the last video. So we're gonna stop here, and then the next one we're gonna build out this hero page, but we're gonna be doing so with the help of the Marvel API and the model schema. So we're going to be building out the schema here. It's going to be called hero page. I already have this created, and then we're going to be creating a controller for our various Marvel API methods, so our post, get, and the routes for it. So we're going to do all that in the next video. So hopefully I'll try and make the next video shorter and just as dense, but not this long. So I did not expect it to be this long. So maybe we can get away with it being a 3-part series, but I have a feeling it's going to go all the way to 4, but the 4th might not be as long as the first 2. So with that said, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did end up liking the video. I will try and get more. I'll try and get the 3rd and the 4th one out as quickly as I did this one. So yeah, once again, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.